You walk into a room with a small stain on your shirt. For the next hour, you're convinced everyone noticed. You replay it in your head, certain that every glance was aimed at the stain. But the real answer is far stranger than that. Almost nobody noticed at all. You are not the main character in anyone else's story. You just feel like you are in your own. This feeling has a name. Psychologists call it the spotlight effect, and it describes something almost everyone experiences but almost nobody questions. You assume other people are paying far more attention to you than they actually are. Your mistakes, your appearance, your awkward moment in a meeting. In your mind, it plays like a scene under a bright stage light. In reality, most people barely register it at all. Psychologist Thomas Gilovich ran an experiment that captured this perfectly. He had college students put on an embarrassing t-shirt, one featuring an outdated celebrity, and then walk into a room full of their peers. Afterward, he asked the students to estimate how many people in the room had noticed the shirt. Their guesses were consistently, dramatically higher than the actual number. Roughly twice as many people thought they'd been noticed as had actually noticed anything at all. Why would your brain be built to overestimate something so specific? Because for most of human history, being watched by your group actually mattered. Survival depended on your reputation, your standing, whether the people around you saw you as reliable, capable, worth keeping close. In a small tribe of maybe 50 people, everyone really was watching everyone, constantly, because everyone's actions affected the group's chances of survival. If you fumbled a hunt or said something foolish at a gathering, people noticed because there weren't enough people around for anyone to go unnoticed. Your brain still runs that same assumption. Except now you're not in a group of 50 people who all know your name. You're in a grocery store full of strangers who will forget your existence in the next 4 seconds. Think about the last time you tripped in public. For you, it might have felt like the loudest moment of your week. Your face went hot, your heart jumped, and for a second, the entire world seemed to be staring. But for almost everyone around you, it barely registered as a blip. People are so consumed by their own internal spotlight, worrying about their own hair, their own voice, their own mistakes, that they have very little processing power left over to closely track yours. That's the strange trade at the center of the spotlight effect. Everyone is starring in their own show, so almost nobody is watching yours. Psychologist Kenneth Savitsky worked alongside Gilovich on further studies and found the effect wasn't limited to appearance. It applied to opinions, emotional reactions, even moments of pride or excitement. People consistently overestimated how much others noticed their internal states, whether they were nervous, thrilled, annoyed, or embarrassed. Your inner world feels loud to you because you're the only one who can hear it at full volume. Everyone else is getting a faint, distant echo, if they're getting anything at all. This has real consequences beyond wardrobe malfunctions and public trips. Consider the anxiety of speaking up in a meeting. You rehearse the sentence in your head 5 times before saying it, terrified that if you stumble, everyone will remember it for weeks. In reality, most colleagues are mentally drafting their grocery list, replaying their own morning, or worrying about their own upcoming turn to speak. Your stumble might occupy their attention for exactly the length of time it takes to happen, and then it's gone, replaced by whatever their own spotlight is currently illuminating. Social psychologist Justin Kruger studied a related pattern, examining how badly people predict what others actually remember about them days or weeks later. The results were consistent. People wildly overestimate how memorable their small blunders are to others. A blush, a typo, an awkward laugh. In your memory, it might be preserved in vivid detail. In everyone else's memory, it likely dissolved somewhere between their next thought and their next conversation. So, why does this illusion feel so convincing, even once you know about it? Because your own perspective is the only one you have direct access to. You can't step outside your own head and confirm, in real time, that other people aren't actually watching. You only have your internal experience, which is loud, immediate, and impossible to switch off. So your brain defaults to assuming your internal volume matches everyone else's external attention. It almost never does. There's a strange kind of relief hidden inside this research. If you've ever avoided speaking up, trying something new, or wearing something bold because you imagined everyone would notice and judge, the spotlight effect suggests something different. Most people are simply too busy managing their own imaginary spotlight to spend much time studying yours. That doesn't mean nobody is ever watching. It means the size of the audience living in your head is almost always larger than the one actually paying attention. The gap between those two numbers is where most social anxiety quietly lives. Your ancestors needed to track a spotlight because their group really was small enough for everyone to notice everything. You inherited that tracking system, but the world around it changed dramatically. Crowds got bigger. Strangers became the majority of the people you pass in a day, and the wiring meant to keep you safe in a village of 50 now runs constantly in cities, offices, and rooms full of people who are mostly thinking about themselves. So the next time you catch yourself replaying an embarrassing moment, convinced that everyone else is replaying it too, remember what's actually happening on the other side of the room. They're not watching you. They're standing under their own spotlight, certain that you're the one who noticed them. You walk out of that room with the small stain on your shirt. Nobody remembers it. Nobody was watching as closely as you thought. And maybe, now, that feels less like an embarrassing thought and more like the quietest kind of freedom.